All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ETL podcast. We've got a bit of a different one today. As most of you probably already would have heard, the metal world recently lost Alexi Laiho, most well known for his part in Children of Bodom, who played their last gig in 2019, and then he went on to form Bodom After Midnight, I think it was called. But anyway, apparently Alexi was suffering with an illness for a few years, and it's a sad loss, for everyone involved. Condolences go out to his family, friends, bandmates, and I suppose all the fans around the world. I suppose we could start, have a quick chat about his music. I know I got into Children of Bodom through my younger brother Matt many fucking years ago, back when Are You Dead Yet came out. And I remember Matt rocked up one day and he goes, I found this awesome band. There's a song I want you to learn. It's called Are You Dead Yet? I was like, all right, sweet. What album's it off? He goes, Are You Dead Yet? I was like, yeah, but what's the name of the album? He goes, Dickhead. The name of the album is Are You Dead Yet? And it's a song, Are You Dead Yet? Fucking learn it. So I was like, all right, sweet. So went out and bought that CD. And we learnt the song. And from there, then we went sort of back in their catalogue. I think then we ended up with Hate Breeder. Then it took us ages to find Hate Crew Death Roll. I don't know what was up with that album, but it was one of them ones I think in the end we had to get from some international fucking eBay or some shit. And then I've been listening to them throughout the years, but I think the last album of theirs I bought would have been Halo of Blood. I think that was like 2013 possibly, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's a bit of a shock to hear. But what did you think of the band, mate? I know you're recent to the
Yeah. So you said to me yesterday, I think it was, that I should is it worth doing a video? So I don't really know them that well. I've never listened to them. I've heard the name a million times, but I've never actually looked up the band themselves or listened to them or paid any attention. I may have heard songs before if they've been played. When you go to a gig and they're changing bands, they play just music in the background.
Yep.
I may have heard it then if they've played it, but I wouldn't recognise it. And today I listened to Are You Dead Yet? Which is the album that you recommended, because I said, where should I start? And then I thought, well, fuck it. Every band that I like has like a killer first album. And then they just go downhill after that. And I'm thinking, if this is I think that Are You Dead Yet was like their 5th or 6th album release. And I thought, well, if it's that good at the sort of 5-6 albums in, what's the first album like? So I listened to their first album, Something Wild, on the way home from work this afternoon. And it was just brilliant from, cover to cover. Such a good album. It's very melodic, which I like in that sort of metal.
Yep.
Because it keeps you engaged. You're not just dealing with the normal brutal heavy metal, black metal, death metal wannabes. It's sort of got more substance to the music. And to be honest, I think if I had been more open to listening to them years ago, I probably would have been right into them.
And no doubt years ago I probably told you to check them out and you probably told me to fuck off. So.
Yeah, but that's the same thing though. Our musical differences go like from one extreme to another. So like you listen to all that black metal type stuff. I'm a fan of the more mainstream black metal type stuff, not the shit you have to listen to a few boring songs to get into. But that's the difference between you and I, man. I like some people would say I'm more of a mainstream metal person, whereas you're definitely more on the much heavier end of the spectrum than what I am. So if you suggest a band, I'm usually like, I'll get to it at some point. And then I end up forgetting about them, and then because we're doing this video, I gave them a shot, listened to 2 albums. I was just saying that like we're just such on a different spectrum of the heavy metal world in terms of our taste in music. So yeah, when you do recommend a band, I'm kind of iffy about it. But because we were doing this video, I gave them a shot, and I was just the music itself was so good. Which is strange, because when I looked up their, how often when their albums came out, I'm looking at like 97, 99, 2000, 2003, 2005, 2008, 2011, 2013, 15, and then 19. Like the most they had was 4 years in between albums. Which,
They did have a cover album in there somewhere. It
oh
might have
yeah, but
been
that's
Skeletons in My Closet or something like that. But that's why how you know how sometimes I fuck around and I sing doop doop doo looking out my back door. They do a
yeah.
cover of that too. It's a fucking good
Oh,
cover.
okay. Well, like looking at their albums there. No, that well, what I was going over, but that came out. The Skeletons in the Closet came out in 2009. They still that what I was going through all the years that their actual studio albums come out, all their original stuff.
Yep.
It wasn't a big break. The most they had a break was 2016, I think it was, to 2015, 2009. So they had 4 years break in between their last
Which could
two
have been
albums.
that the health issues too, because I know at one stage I can't remember where I read it in an interview years ago. It might have been Guitar World or Metal Hammer or whatever. That Alexi was saying that he had like shoulder surgery or some shit like that, and
Yeah.
he had to pretty much relearn guitar again.
Yeah, right.
And it came about because he had like a fucking broken collarbone for 10 years or some shit that he never knew about.
Yeah.
And yeah, he reckons his fingers just weren't up to speed with what they used to be and shit like that, which is understandable after major surgery.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a reason, plus whatever illness was going on behind the scenes, and who fucking knows. But yeah, that'd be a good explanation for why it took him so long.
Yeah. Well, what I was getting at is like there's like even heavy metal bands from like the early 2000s that were got their record deal, signed a deal, put out their debut album. Even those bands like in the 2000 like 2005 and onwards, they weren't putting out an album every couple of years, and I think that's what I miss most about the big record industry now. I wouldn't say we're in a big record industry now because people doing their own thing. Like a lot of Perth bands just record their own stuff and put it straight on Spotify. You don't need a middleman.
Yep.
You don't need a contract. But what I miss about those days when you pretty much needed to have that contract, that record label backing you, is the fact that there was new material coming out so often. Like you look at all the great bands from the
Because they had to, because they were set
50s,
to a fucking
60s,
schedule.
and 70s and the 80s. They were coming out like almost every year. They had a new album every year, and it wasn't that, and that slowed down to sort of every 2 years. In the maybe for most bands it was probably like the 80s and the 90s, and then as soon as the 2000s come around, it was like, oh fuck it, people can wait 5 years. It's like, oh shit, like we don't support you and go to gigs and buy your merch and buy your albums to fucking wait for new music. So I really like that about a band when they actually consistently put out really good music, and that frequently. Like for their first album, like I thought Something Wild was the second one I listened to, but being their first album was fucking killer. I want to listen to Hatebreeder now and then follow the Reaper. I actually want to go through them in like chronological order. Because I think every one's just going to be fantastic.
And I'd say a lot of people will be doing that, especially with being that the bloke just passed as well. I mean, it's funny because a few months ago, I went and grabbed Halo of Blood and chucked it in the car. I had that in the car for about a month or so just playing. And, yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, in a month's time I'm going to find out that Alexi Laiho dies, Like, it was just out of the blue. I was like, fuck, I want something different to listen to. I haven't listened to Bodum for a while. Chuck that in the car.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the bloke was a hugely influential guitar player. He
Yeah,
won,
that's
like,
what I've read
fucking
online. Like,
golden medal awards, all sorts of shit. Why do you think I play Vs? You know the SV that I play? You know the SVs that I play?
The guitar, yeah, righto.
Yeah, the V-shaped
is.
guitars.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen it, the V-shaped guitar I got. That came about from watching... Yeah, that came about from watching Children of Bodom.
I thought you were saying, why do you think I play the Bs? I'm like, what the fuck's a B got to do with guitar?
Nah, yeah,
okay.
no. My ESP SVs. Because you remember back in the day, I always used to play the Kirk Hammett guitars.
Yeah,
and that was my guitar. And then after Matt introduced me to Children of Bodom and Alexi Laiho, that was around the time as well that Matt was learning to play lead. So he took a lot of influence in the side of learning the lead shit or being influenced by him in that way. And I took the influence of looking at the guitars going, fuck yeah, I'd love one of his guitars. And that's why I ended up playing SVs because of Alexi Laiho.
Yeah, righto. Yeah, no. Awesome, but that's what I mean. Like, I read a bit. After you actually sent me a text about it saying that he's passed away, and we should probably do a video. But I didn't know too much about the band.
Yeah, I assumed that you would have listened to him over the years. I didn't realise you didn't listen to him.
But even before that, I'd read, like, just scrolling through Instagram, I'd seen people like post his picture and whatever, and saying whatever they wanted to say about it. So I knew he'd passed away. I just didn't really. It wasn't a band I was into, so I was like saying Britney Spears died, I probably wouldn't care. You know what I mean? That's that sort of thing, because it's not something that's in my life. I never got into it, so but I'm actually a little bit sad that I got into them so fucking late.
So late by like today.
Yeah.
Which by the time this comes out would have been a few days ago.
23 years after the debut album, or 24 years after the debut album. But man, that's such a killer band. Like very melodic. The first thing I thought was his singing on some songs was like very black metal-ish. It reminded me, but then in some songs, like when there's a little bit like a higher pitch to his voice, his vocals, it actually reminded me of Phil from Pantera.
Yep.
Little hints here and there. It's like for a dude who's doing heavy metal and whatnot, he had such range in his vocals. It was fucking awesome. But then the music as well, the symphony, the melodics of that backed up the music and made it just gave it so much more substance than what a typical.
Well, I like as well that how he'll play his lead bit and then the keyboard player will sort of match it, and they just trade it back and forth between the guitar and the keyboards. I always found that very impressive about him, because it's not something you really see in a lot of bands that we'd listen to.
No, and the other thing is, for people who don't know who this band is and what I mean by the melodic parts of it, like think of Demure Bergier's album In Sorte Diaboli, or whatever the fuck that was called, where it's got a full orchestra behind it. The music is very melodic, and that's probably the one album of theirs that I'll continually listen to, because there's actually a lot happening. There's a lot to the music, and then for people who don't know about that, think Metallica, that S&M album that came out with the DVD where they had the symphony orchestra playing in the background live. That's what it gives you. But that's like, from what I can gather, it must be on all albums. Because it's on their first album. It was on their album, Are You Dead Yet? So I'm expecting that to be like a trend all the way through it.
It's very, I suppose you call it signature of them.
Yeah.
That sort of style.
But it's weird that I've heard this sort of music from other bands who have never done that, but then they've brought it into their music. Yet these guys have been doing it since 97. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Well, that's the thing. It was good because I actually got to see them live back in, I want to say 2011, I think it was. It was near Matt's birthday, actually. So me and my now ex-wife, Brooke, bought Matt a ticket for his birthday and took him along to that.
Yeah. And
it was a great night too, because I'm pretty sure Voyager, which is a Perth band, they were touring around Australia with them. And Empire's Laid Waste actually opened up the night, and it was fucking good. You know, like they played very well. Voyager played well. Bodum's performance was a bit iffy, but my mate Tom later told me that they found out backstage. Apparently the whole band was fucking crook with food poisoning. They got a dodgy dodgy meal on the plane or some shit. Capital, I'm pretty sure it was. I could be wrong. Capital.
Oh, shit.
I'm pretty sure. It was either 2010, 2011, something around then. I'm pretty sure it was 2011. I should have looked it up before we even fucking started this, but...
I don't know why so many bands...
it was a fucking good gig.
When the Capital was the Capital, it's no longer the Capital. It's a disco centre now for fucking 16-year-olds. But when it was the Capital, I don't know why so many international bands were booked there, because I understand they had that brand obviously had the money to bring in the bands, but it was such a shit venue.
Really I've seen a lot of good gigs there, mate. As shit as the venue is, I've seen a lot of good gigs there.
Within the same 7 days, I saw Cradle of Filth with our mate Mitch, and then that was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, and then like the following Sunday, I went and caught Sepultura. It was fucking brilliant, but it's such a shit venue. The stage was
That's the thing, like,
the stage is
I know they came back again, I'm pretty sure, at some stage. I remember seeing that advertised with Megadeth or something like that. Because I was never hugely into Megadeth, I thought, well, for the price of the tickets, I'm not paying that just to go see Bodum. So I didn't go see him again for a second time. But situations like this make you sort of think, like, why didn't you just suck it up and do it?
Yeah,
Same with,
yeah.
I wish I had have bought one of the Alexi Laiho signature guitars back in the day when I had the chance,
Yeah.
but I didn't because I was like, well, that's an extra $1,000 on top of the normal guitar just to have his signature on the headstock. And that's the way I thought back then, because it's like, fucking money was precious. Well, money's always precious, but you know what I mean.
It's sort of like that. Sometimes you just wish you had that little bit extra cash to do something before it's too late, and then when it is too late, you're like, fucking Jesus.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's I'm glad you got into them. It's a shame that it took for you to go, oh fuck it, I'll have a listen.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was called Bodum After Midnight was the band he started after, and apparently they've recorded 3 songs and a film clip. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see when that gets released. Whether it's, I mean, he was the main songwriter anyway of Children of Bodum, so it wouldn't surprise me if it's pretty much just Bodum under a new name. But it'll be interesting to see if they changed it up at all, or if they just kept the signature Bodum style, and
so
it'll be good to fucking hear.
What happened to the band, like, for Bodum After Midnight to come from Children of Bodum? Did the Children of Bodum, that band, just run its course?
From what I remember reading, it was something along the lines of 3 of the members decided it was time for them to move on. Okay. I don't know if it was to do with Alexi's illness or his condition or whatever, or if there was other internal shit in the band that they never sort of bring out in public. So then Alexi and another dude said, all right, we'll go our separate ways. And then I think they ended up possibly going to court or some shit over the name.
Yeah.
And it turned out that even though I'm pretty sure he was a founding member, even though for whatever reason the other boys had the rights to the name, so that's why he went, oh well, my new band's called Bodum After Midnight.
Static X. So, I'm actually just reading it now. So it was like there were 3 members that sort of went their separate ways because they didn't have a common viewpoint with Alexi. And then when he found like they had a new bass player and a drummer, but because of the other members, it must have been set up like a partnership.
Possibly.
The business of it, so the name belonged to the partnership, and all the other members obviously had their share, and they couldn't use it. So I dare say Bodum After Midnight was probably going to be the same. I reckon it's going to be the same music. It's kind of like Prince arguing with his record labels over his name rights, and then coming out with the artist formerly known as Prince, but it's the same fucking music.
Or like you mentioned just before, Static X with Wayne and Tony.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but so like, yeah. So
it's just going to be another one of them things where, you know, you're never going to know the full truth behind what the issues were, and especially now that he's passed, I doubt that the band members are going to try shit on his name in any way and turn around and go, oh yeah, well this is a real reason why we split up or whatever. But either way, it is a loss for the metal world, metal community in general, and like I said, condolences to his family, and we'll probably wrap it up there.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So
I'm gonna keep listening to the music. So
yeah, it's definitely. I've been listening to some more Bodum after hearing the news, and it's actually good to get back. Like I said a month or 2 ago when I grabbed Halo of Blood, that was a good refresher, and now, getting back into it myself. So it is what it is.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone for watching. I know this was a bit of a short one compared to usual, and it obviously wasn't planned, as you know. Death is never planned, but it is what it is, and rest in peace, Alexi Laiho. Cheers for the good fucking tunes, mate.
Yeah.